This is Reverend Ray Grosswirth. In tribute to the annual remembrance of the 6 million Jews who died in the terrible years of the Holocaust, I want to offer a few words of reflection. I come from a very deep religious background, with Judaism on my father's side and Catholicism on my mother's side. During the past 3 years, I have done extensive research on the Jewish heritage of my father's lineage. It was with profound shock and sadness that I learned the fate of many Grosswirths who lived in the area that was known as the Austro-Hungarian Empire. Amongst the many Hungarian Grosswirths who inhabited Hungary during World War II, approximately 60 perished in the final days of the Holocaust. The history of Hungary is one of tragedy, beginning with the persecution of the Jews during the period of the Austro-Hungarian Empire, then during the period of the Nazi occupation, and finally during the period of the Soviet occupation. To get a sense of the 3 periods of persecution, I highly recommend the motion picture Sunshine, which traces 3 generations of a Hungarian Jewish family. It's a very powerful film, and I highly recommend it. It stars Ralph Fiennes in 3 distinct roles. For the most part, the fate of Hungarian Jews remains an untold story. We do know of the courageous acts of Raoul Wallenberg, a Swedish diplomat who was instrumental in saving the lives of hundreds of Jews. However, for the most part, the story of Hungarian Jews unable to escape the Nazis is indeed horrific. Because the Nazi occupation of Hungary took place during the final months of the war, there was a desperate attempt by the Gestapo to cover up their crimes. Following the shooting of Jews along the banks of the Danube River, the Nazi regime added insult to injury by bulldozing Jewish cemeteries and communities, as if to erase any memory one might have of thriving Jewish communities prior to the war. As a person with a Judeo-Christian background, I want to take this opportunity to thank courageous nuns and priests who hid Jews in their churches and convents in an attempt to save their lives. Sadly, many of these priests and nuns died in concentration camps after their acts of heroism were discovered. What you see before you is a simple lit candle. Yet many Jews in concentration camps would have given anything to light a Sabbath candle during their imprisonments. So in tribute to the 6 million Jews who perished during the Holocaust, this candle represents a simple tribute on my part to their collective memory. In closing, I would like to quote some powerful words from Anne Frank. She was only a teenager when she penned these words in her diary. Yet I believe God helped her with this particular paragraph, which has come to symbolize hope in the midst of suffering. I now quote from Anne Frank. It's really a wonder that I haven't dropped all my ideals, because they seem so absurd and impossible to carry out. Yet I keep them because in spite of everything, I still believe that people are really good at heart. I simply can't build up my hopes on a foundation consisting of confusion, misery, and death. I see the world gradually being turned into a wilderness. I hear the ever-approaching thunder which will destroy us too. I can feel the sufferings of millions, and yet if I look up into the heavens, I think that it will all come out right, that this cruelty too will end, and that peace and tranquility will return again. In the meantime, I must uphold my ideals, for perhaps the time will come when I shall carry them out. As we know, Anne Frank tragically died in a concentration camp. In memory of Anne Frank, and in memory of the 6 million Jews who perished during the Holocaust, including 60 of my relatives, we commemorate this special week that comes once a year to think of the tragedy that occurred over 60 years ago throughout Eastern Europe. Let us continue to pray for a more compassionate world.